is everybody's week going?
Doing good. How about
Pretty
you?
good. I think you're being made fun of, though.
No, 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 you were not being made fun of. I just love you. The way you throw something in the very last second, you know, slide something in. Yes, yes, I love it. Y'all had to had been here with us right before I hit record to understand that, but there we go.
Pre-production laughter. That's all.
Indeed, indeed. It's been a good week. I'm glad we kind of have this silly energy, you know. It's, you know, obviously we had a tough blow in the women's basketball world, and we'll get there towards the end of the show for that. We You know, there was some interesting games during the second round. So now we'll be moving on to the Sweet 16 come Thursday. And then Friday for the ladies. So it's been a great tournament, really, really good tournament on both sides. So I don't always say that, you know, but I can go ahead and shout out the guys this year. Y'all have held some of my interest.
Yes,
There was
but it's
one
been.
game that I didn't like the end result.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
understand.
didn't like the end results a couple of games myself,
Right.
but there's been some
All
good
right. Well,
games.
so we've actually the ladies have been traveling and covering events for the last few weeks, and I know that's probably the normal. But why don't you two talk to me about where y'all been this last week?
So I'm
Candid.
gonna start with on Sunday. I was up in Port St. Lucie. We were covering the last of spring training because let's face it, MLB starts their games this week. We were seeing the
Indeed.
Mets take take control of the Marlins or put it to the Marlins. The Marlins are going to be a very interesting. I don't even know if I can say that they're going to be interesting this year. They're going to have a rough year. They're very young and very inexperienced, and they have a new
And
coach.
just
So,
displaced.
yes, exactly. So we covered them on Sunday. And then, so I went from going north an hour and a half to yesterday, I went south to Coral Gables to down to Miami to see Miami Hurricanes had their pro day yesterday. So
Okay.
lots of scouts, all 32 teams were there. It was closed to the public. They used to open this event to the public. It was
Okay.
closed to the public. They had all kinds of scouts. Apparently, even the Tennessee Titans, their GM, their coach were there. They were on one side of the indoor facility, and the media was on a different side. So, uh,
Okay.
many participants. It was the biggest pro day that they've had. They had 20 different participants from O line to defensive line to wide receivers to obviously, and the big name would be Cam Ward. Whether
Right.
he's going to go number one or not will obviously be remain to be seen. Uh, but he did come over, and the media got to ask him questions. So Scott actually got to ask him how he feels about being drafted in Green Bay, where the home of the Lombardi, at Lombardi.
Right.
Ooh, good question, Scott.
Exactly. So I'm gonna do a teaser here because it's gonna be on Inside the Pigskin following this
Okay.
show on South Florida Tribune. So anybody wants to know the answer to that question has to check
Right.
it out. But you know, I've experienced a lot of different things, and I've gone to NFL games before. This past year, I actually went to the draft. Now I've gone to all the college games, and now I've seen the pro day. So, and I was at the Super Bowl, so I've hit the realm of
Right.
football, just about everything this year, and it was great. It was great to see, you know, Andrew Borregales was their kicker. He was
Uh-huh.
kicking yesterday. He hit from 65 with distance yet. So
Oh, okay.
it was really
Was
interesting.
there anybody that stuck out that was really well spoken or that, you know, gave a really good answer other than Cam Ward, that maybe you didn't expect them to be that well spoken
The
or
interviews were done outside of the media. So
oh, I see.
only a couple of them came over to talk to the media. Andrew Borregales was, Jacoby George, Jalen Rivers, and then Cam Ward were the only ones that actually came over to us.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I think they did some of that beforehand. They did some of the weigh-ins, the high broad jump. They do horizon. I mean, they do all kinds of different things without us, like in the weight room, bench pressing and stuff like that. We got to
Right.
see that on a TV screen, but it was pretty interesting. Some of the runs that they, and we're used to seeing football players with all full pads, and in
Right.
here there's no hitting, so they're not in pads. So
Right.
they're running as fast as they can and running the 40, and then
Mm.
obviously cam throwing, and it was interesting. It was my first time being at a pro day, and I really enjoyed it. And I did put up on the chicks Facebook page a snippet of Cam throwing to Xavier Restrepo. So anybody want to
Okay.
check out our Facebook page, they'll be able to see that. Lots of
All
fun.
right, Jen. Now you covered another ACC event. Talk to us about that.
So it was pretty cool. So I'll set the precedent of I know nothing about gymnastics except for what I learned from the Olympics and what's on TV, and Make It or Break It, which was on ABC Family back in like
Right.
2008 to 2013, 14. So that being said, because basically there was five, we figured out I couldn't do a cartwheel, so it was
I too cannot do a cartwheel. I have never done one in my life ever.
Oh, I used to be in gymnastics myself, so I did them. That was one thing I could
No,
do.
oh really.
I was never able to get my legs to go
Thanks.
over.
But it was so cool. Like
Jen, your reception's kind of going in and
you
out
got
right
to
now. Maybe try going out and
you
coming
just
back
have to be
in,
in a
if you can
precise
hear
motion.
us.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, well, we did have some other news today. So, if you've been on my page at all, you've seen my coverage of Aaliyah Chavez, the number one recruit out of the 2025 class for women's basketball. She made a decision today for her commitment, and out of the four teams or schools that she had picked, she had Texas, OU, Texas Tech, and then South Carolina. Texas Tech was the hometown team for her. And in my opinion, that's kind of where I thought she was going to end up going. I do believe that starting minutes is important to her. I think that she's somebody that's capable of breaking records. And in order to do that, you need to start your entire college career. So, depending on what her objective is going into her college career, I think definitely played a factor. I also do think that money talks, and definitely the school that she chose has seen an influx in their economy, even just um, whether it's just statewide or even there at their school, they've definitely had an increase in their economy there. So I'm not sure what her nil deal is going to be, but it does look like she's going to be a Sooner now. And I'm excited for her. I figured South Carolina and Texas were probably out of the running. Um, at South Carolina, it's rare when freshmen start, and for Texas, already gave Rory another redshirt year, so that she's not going to start next year as well. So, as much of a great guard as she is in those systems, the starting positions are usually earned, not right off the bat like that. And if breaking records is what you're looking for, then yeah, you need to start. And then also, we talk about this all the time, and it's perfectly acceptable on the team side of things for them to make business decisions. I think it should be perfectly okay for the athlete to also make business decisions. And so, if it was a money factor, then good for her. And that's just my personal opinion on that. There's no guarantee on anything. How many times have we thought we were going to see the next LeBron or the next Diana Taurasi, and it didn't pan out? And so there's no guarantee. This could possibly be the only paycheck she gets. And so me personally, I'm not going to knock a person to make that decision. So NCAA had been making money off these athletes for a very, very long time, and I'm not opposed to see them making money off themselves.
No, I agree. I agree. They deserve it. They've put in a lot of time and a lot of sweat, and a lot of, and we don't realize how much time away from like family. that they, because they're, oh, I got to train. I can't be, spend as much of the holiday with people and stuff like that.
Right.
We forget those things.
No, absolutely agree. And I really figured it was going to be Tech because they have also had an influx in their boosters, and so I thought Tech was really going to be the decision there. I thought it was going to be easy for her. I do like Krista Gerlich, who is the coach over there at Texas Tech, and I don't think her record necessarily reflects how good of a coach she is. She was a part of that championship team there with Cheryl Swoops, and I definitely think that she's somebody that knows basketball. I think it's really hard for Lubbock to pull recruits. And so the way for them to pull recruits, because it's not a desirable destination. And don't come for me, Tech fans. I know y'all are probably lurking in the dust because it's a dust bowl in Lubbock, and I get it because I live in Amarillo and it's the same thing. So it's a hard destination to pull recruits to. So um, if they were going to be able to pull somebody that was a top-notch recruit, they're either going to have to throw a lot of money at that way, or it's going to have to be a hometown kid. And they tried their best, but I mean, the market is she's probably going to have a better career at OU, honestly. So I love Krista Garlick, and I hope that this doesn't her not getting this recruit. I hope that that doesn't reflect in her employment because
Yeah.
they're already going through a really tough time there at Tech. So now they are playing some postseason play. I believe they're in the NIT or whatever version of that they call it now. So they've made it to the Sweet 16 in that. So it's not completely bleak there. They have a local girl, Bailey Maupin, who is from Groover, Texas, about an hour and a half northeast of here, and she's really exciting to watch as well. So, just definitely a really great shooter, and the thought of them playing together was exciting. But I think what not a whole lot of people have been paying attention to OU this season as far as women's basketball,
Hmm.
but they've been winning, and they've been top 20 this entire time, and most of the time they were close to the 10 to 15 range in the rankings. So ranked all season, definitely been winning. I don't know what that's going to look like come SEC play time. It's hard to come up out of the SEC. And while they're there, and I respect them, it's hard to do well in the SEC. So
Hmm.
we'll see.
Yep. Interesting. Interesting. Mm.
So I am going to check around a little bit and see if we can figure out if we can get Jen on here real quick.
Right. Right.
Um, has there been anything else that you've been covering this last week?
Let's see. Well, the week before we went over to Fort Myers and we covered the Boston Red Sox and the Minnesota Twins, and
Okay.
that was fun. Spring training wise, one of the interesting questions Scott asked the trainer was, how different is it for these teams that are training, obviously down, they train in Arizona or in Florida, then to go back to their respective home territory where, like, the Twins
Right.
are going to go up to the cold weather? And how does
Right.
that affect your body and like pitchers and batters and stuff like that? And he said, well, it's the same for everybody except for those that, like, Miami is always down here. So
Right.
it definitely is an adjustment. He says it takes about 2 weeks for your body to really adjust to the
Right.
different temperatures. So we thought that was very interesting, and I never thought. And um, so it'll be interesting, the start of the season starting this week. I know games start, I
Who
believe
does
Thursday.
who do they start out with? Do you know who's their opening series?
I do not know that.
Oh, that's okay.
Pittsburgh is my.
I was looking at the Rangers, and they're gonna play Boston for their first series, and that's a little. I don't want to say concerning because the baseball season's so long. You got to beat
Mhm.
the best, but Red Sox are trending up. I feel like they definitely had a surge last year, and they weren't out of the playoff race until very close to the very end. So I think they're moving in the right direction. I'm curious what we look like.
I know that the Marlins played the Yankees today as the last exhibition game. They actually beat them, believe it or not. And then
Okay.
I believe on Thursday the Pirates come to town to play Miami. That's who they open
Okay.
the series
Okay.
with. I see Jen is back.
Hey Jen, you got sound? Are you there?
I'm
Connectivity?
back.
Yay!
Hi. Can you hear me?
All right. So talk to us about ACC
Yo,
gymnastics.
this is killing me. So it was so cool. I felt silly at one point because I was over at the Beam and I was watching one of the NCC girls and she got a 9.6.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was good.
Right. Oh, no.
She thought it was
Well,
good, but she
Yeah, she froze again. Oh no. It's okay, Jen. If you're unable for it to work, don't worry. We'll just keep
technical
on keeping on.
difficulties, right?
Right. I mean, it happens.
It
We've had such extreme weather. I'm not surprised that we have problems with our Wi-Fi. So, I guess let's go ahead. I'm going to talk a little bit about the men's tournament because
Yeah.
I'm sure Chris
okay.
probably
I'm
wants to
gonna
talk
try to
about
log
the
on through the
women's.
app.
Okay, that's fine. No worries. I'm sure Chris wants to talk about the women's tournament. So
Yeah,
we'll
bring
talk
Chris on.
men's. Hmm?
Go ahead and bring
What'd you
Chris on
say?
if he's backstage. I'm gonna try to get onto the app.
I don't see anybody backstage. So all right. So in the second round this past weekend on the men's tournament, we had Creighton versus Auburn. Auburn won this matchup 82-70. Michigan beat A&M 91-79. So we're going to see the one Auburn versus the 5 seed Michigan. This is going to be Friday at 9:39 p.m. Eastern. All
late
right, then
game.
we have Ole Miss versus Iowa State. Ole Miss won this one 91-78. This was Sunday. Iowa was the 3 seed. Ole Miss is the 6 seed. Then we had Michigan State versus UNM. This is the 2 versus the 10. Michigan comes out on top 71-63. So we will see Ole Miss 6 seed versus number 2 seed Michigan State Friday at 6:09 p.m. And so, or excuse me, 7:09 Eastern. Um, Ole Miss being one of the programs that both sides made it, the women's and the men's. So I thought that that was pretty significant. I do think that the lower seed here probably comes out on top. I think Ole Miss, they are very well coached. And it's their first year with this program there. It's Chris Beard, and then obviously his assistant that he had at Texas Tech and in Mark Adams. And so I think it probably took a little time for them to get their groove, but similar to John Calipari over there at Arkansas, like that's not your typical lower seed right there. At which Arkansas is the 10 seed, so a little bit further down. But I kind of believe in Chris Beard in this one. I feel like.
You're gonna go against the experience of Tom Izzo.
I am. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like Chris is getting hot at the right time, and I think that in single elimination, that's kind of what matters more than compared to
Mm-hmm.
that experience or everything that you did within the season. Because does that really matter when it's one game?
Right. Right.
All right, then we had Arkansas versus St. John's. So this was, I preluded to this a little bit. St. John's, the 2 seed, Arkansas, the 10 seed. Once again, not your normal 10 seed. This is John Calipari team. Uh, Arkansas ends up winning this one 75-66. And then we had Drake versus Texas Tech. Texas Tech ends up winning this one as the 3 seed, Drake the 11 seed, 77-64. So we are going to see Arkansas versus Texas Tech. This is a 10 versus a 3 at 10:09 p.m. Eastern this Thursday. This one is significant for this region because obviously Texas Tech is not that far away. This is a tough draw for the Texas Tech men. They had a tough draw last year, first round. They got NC State, another team that got hot at the exact right time. They didn't have a great regular conference season, but they ended up winning their conference tournament and got that automatic bid and then ended up making it to the Final Four. So just a really rough draw for Texas Tech. And like, once again, it's not a normal 10 seed. It's a John Calipari coached 10 seed team. And like, there probably shouldn't be a 10 seed, the caliber team that they are. It just took a little time. It's his first year there. It took time for them to kind of gel together. And I think they have it perfectly fine now. So a tough draw for Texas Tech. I think they should win it on paper. I'm not going to give an exact score on that or anything like that. I think it could be close, but they should win it. But we'll see. John has a way of winning at this time of year. All right, then we had the 12 seed Colorado State versus Maryland. The 4 seed Maryland comes out on top on this one by 1 point, 72 to 71. Then we had UConn versus Florida. Florida wins this one 77 to 75. UConn the 8 seed, Florida the 1 seed. And then we had a Dan Hurley meltdown afterwards. Any thoughts on that?
You know, I I I heard about it. I didn't actually watch or see it, but you know, not happy that I don't.
He's always been a sore loser. I'll say that. And I think that we watch him for that reason. It's kind of like hockey. We watch for the fights. NASCAR, we watch for the wrecks.
Yeah.
You know that Dan Hurley's going to have a meltdown. Yeah, and he's going to do it. So
Hmm. Exactly.
I don't know. I think we know it's going to happen. I can't wait until we actually have a governing faction over the NCAA so you can be like, "Hey, fine him."
Yes, exactly.
All right, Jen, how are you? You good? You there?
I'm here in theory.
Okay, we can hear you. We can see you. All right. Then we had Baylor versus Duke. Duke won this matchup 89 to 66. Baylor, the 9 seed, Duke, the 1 seed. Then we had Oregon versus Arizona. This was our 4-5 matchup. Arizona comes out on top as the 4 seed, 87 to 83. So we will see Arizona, the 4 seed, versus Duke, the 1 seed, this Thursday at 9:39 p.m. Then we have BYU versus Wisconsin. BYU wins this one in a stunner, 91 to 89 as the 6 seed. What were your thoughts on this game, Candy?
You know, I watched this game, and beside one of the big things that I noticed, no bench points or hardly any bench points from Wisconsin. And you have to have depth. You got to be able to do that. They weren't shooting well. They weren't falling in. Tanjay had an awesome game. I think he had like 39 points of Wisconsin's points. But BYU played physical and played tough. They were inside outside. They did what they needed to do to win, and Wisconsin just didn't have it. Like I said, their shooting went cold, and you can't do
Right.
it with just one shooter. Like you
You
just can't.
cannot, yeah.
No.
And then in our next matchup, we had St. Mary's, California versus number 2, Alabama. Alabama wins this one 80 to 66. So BYU, the 6 seed, will be facing the 2 seed Alabama Thursday at 7:09 p.m. Then we had Illinois versus Kentucky. Kentucky comes out on top of this one 84 to 75 as the 3 seed. Illinois was the 6 seed. Then we had UCLA versus Tennessee, the 2 versus the 7. Tennessee comes out on top 67 to 58. So we're going to see Kentucky versus Tennessee, the 2 versus the 3. This is set to be a really good matchup. I feel like you got Rick Carlisle over there at Tennessee, and then you at Kentucky, you got Mark Pope, who just came over there and has done really well in his first year. So I think that's going to be maybe matchup of the Sweet 16. Then we had McNeese State, which was kind of your Cinderella story, versus Purdue. Purdue ends up winning this one 76 to 62. Then Gonzaga versus Houston. Houston defeats Gonzaga, but it was pretty close 81 to 76. So we will see Purdue versus Houston at 10 p.m. on Friday. And so that's going to be the last of the Sweet 16 round on the men's side.
Jen,
All
are
right,
you
Jen.
there?
Yeah, Jen, talk to us about gymnastics.
Okay. First of all, I do want to real quick with Sweet 16. I am excited kind of about New Mexico because Megan, you've been to a game at the Pit. So whenever there's like I don't know, there's just almost something a little magical about that, and dare I say something kind about New Mexico. But there
But
you go.
they didn't win. I would have loved for them to have won that matchup because it's actually Rick Pitino's son who coaches there, and I would have loved to have seen him take it to another round. I love the Lobos. I feel like they've been there for a minute now,
Yeah.
and it just like they've been close, and they make the tournament quite a bit, and that's a big feat. It's hard to get out of those first 2 rounds for them. So I was hoping this was the year, but it was not.
Yeah, I always I think they went what 2 years ago.
Hmm.
They
You know,
um
that's
Maybe
kind of like I
try
love.
to
Oh
sign
yeah,
off.
go ahead.
I'll see
I'll
you
see you
guys
all
next week.
Okay.
I'll see you
Thanks,
soon, Jen.
Candy.
Yep, thank you.
All right, let's talk
um
gymnastics.
so it was really cool to see this because you're watching these ladies, just everything pinpoint precision. Now I have in my notes, and I'm sorry, but I was getting frustrated
No, it's
with my
okay.
um 9.998
Mhm.
on bars. And I mean, honestly, I've got it on tape and or on tape. Goodness, I've got it on video that I'll be uploading and soon, hopefully. Katie was helping me over the phone a little while ago, but honestly, like everything has to be so precise. And dare I say, Megan, like honestly, when we were at the tournament, we heard how loud it was, like day one, day three, day four, day five,
Right.
right? It was more about the crowd size of day one,
Okay.
but it was the noise level of day five.
Oh, wow.
Like, and in all honesty, you don't see as many people cheer for one another
Hmm.
and like as a team as you do with gymnastics.
Okay.
Like, I was so impressed by that because again, my like most recent information is like Simone Biles, Jordan Childs,
Right.
I mean, so
So it was exciting to expand the events that you've been able to cover.
yes, and thank you, Fago. Because that was, Fago like heard about it and he was like, "Hey, can you cover this?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So thank you, Fago. And
I
it's
honestly like kind of like you. I watch on TV. I watch on the Olympics. Definitely follow the ladies that are on Team USA, but at their respective schools as well. And but as far as like an expert or to actually know quite a bit about it, no, I'm not that. I'm just as a casual, oh, they're really special type of fan. I'm
it's
not
so
I'm not the expert on gymnastics that I am hoops, so I don't know that I want to even say that I'm an expert on that, but yeah, no, I just enjoy watching
an expert. You be an subject matter expert in my world.
it. All right, so we are going to end the show on we like to normally end it on a happy story. And so this one actually has a little sadder connotation, but I do believe that some of the prettiest things come out of the most trying moments in your life. So I'm sure that this was something similar to that. So Marnie Schneider, somebody that was one of the first guests that came on our show, she is the daughter of the lady that was the GM of the Philadelphia Eagles. And so, is that right? Is that right?
GM, first female vice president,
Right.
first female council, first female GM. Yeah, and she was also the daughter of the owner.
Of the owner. Oh, okay, I see. All right,
Yeah,
so I'm going to read her post about her mother just because I thought it was really touching, and nobody could really put it into words better than Marnie. So I'm just going to read what she had to say. She said, "As I sit on the sofa where my mom and I watched almost every sunrise together since she moved in with me in 2020, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. The best part of my day was always sitting beside her and writing in my gratitude journal and starting the morning in the most beautiful way. I'm sure that the pain of missing her, my mom, my best friend, my confidant, my advocate, my advisor, my cheerleader, my teacher, my partner, is immense. There's a space beside me that can never be filled, but how lucky am I? I won the mom lottery. I was blessed beyond measure, and one of the greatest gifts my mom gave me was teaching me how to share, something only children are often told we struggle with. But when your mom is so incredible that everyone wants a piece of her, you learn quickly. Even when she wasn't actively teaching me, she was showing me how to live. I often say memories are better than actual events, but with my mom, both were exceptional. In the last 8 years, watching her navigate dementia with grace and grit and resilience taught me more about that than I could have imagined. It's easy to be adored when you're on top, but when life humbles you, all that's left is the character and the heart. And in that category, my mom was a gold medalist, an MVP, and an all star. Her give it all attitude is why she broke barriers and became the first to accomplish so many extraordinary things. But beyond all of that, it was her kindness, grace, and heart that made everyone fall in love with her. People went to great lengths to show their admiration. Growing up in our kitchen often looked like a flower shop and a jewelry store filled with gifts for those trying to get her attention. No wonder I was always a chubby teen. Our fridge was always stocked with chocolate covered strawberries. And my mom didn't just impact me. She adored my friends and they adored her right back. My best friends, Faith, my actual stepsister, Amy, Nessa, Catherine, Leslie, Stacy, Nilly, Stacy, Ann were all part of my mom's life. And honestly, I think that they liked her more than me. And I was totally okay with that. Over the past few years, they showed up visiting my mom, embracing our new normal, and lifting me up. I'm so grateful for these wonderful women who are my family. Growing up as a daughter of the NFL GM, some days were never just Sundays. My mom gave my guy friends the ultimate football experience, and whenever the Eagles won or lost, she took us all out to dinner after every game. Just her, a table full of teenagers, and endless laughter, and her biggest joy, seeing me happen. Dementia is a thief. It stole my mom from my husband, Papa Bob from me, and from Jonathan, Goldie, Leo, and from the dogs, and from her friends, and from her charitable work. And let's face it, from the universe. But it could never steal the legacy that she left behind. And in a true great mom fashion, she held on just long enough to celebrate my birthday on March 20th. And if that's not proof of how much she loved me, I don't know what is. I'm so grateful.
I have an ugly cry.
Same. But we just wanted to shout her out because she was one of the first guests on our show. So just really, we're really sorry.
Susan was one of the first women that we really talked about too, leading into Title IX.
Right. So, our deepest condolences, but happy tears because what a life she led.
Right. And Marnie is still winning awards for her work with dementia and Alzheimer's and
Right.
Western North Carolina. Here where we are. We're not in the mountain part, but
Right.
but Marnie, we're thinking of you.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys, we're going to end it there. Thank y'all so much for watching and commenting, and we will see y'all next week.
Yes. Thank you.
Let us get off of here with these tears.
I was going to cry, man.
Right.
Yep, really sad. You started reading.
Yeah, I know.
Is that going to really bother Megan with her dad?
No, I'm all right. Because, like I said, I don't think anybody could have said it better than her.
Mm-mm. They couldn't.
Honey.